Welcome to Letter to Your 17-Year-Old Self. Today we have Barry Botwin with us. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me. My pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So if you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself, how you got into what you're doing now, your journey, anything along that.
Absolutely. So I am currently a mortgage banker at Waterstone Mortgage in Winter Park, Florida. I've done two things in my life. I have flown airplanes for a living and helped families realize the dream of homeownership. I flew for the airlines for many years and love that. Still love to fly. I went up on a small airplane a couple weeks ago. So I still like flying airplanes. But I realized that I have two daughters, Emily and Ava. Emily is 20 and Ava is 17. And realized with airline flying, you're gone half the time.
Yeah.
At least. And I just did not want to watch the girls, in essence, grow up part-time. So I was actually jump seating home one day. I was commuting home. I was, at the time, I was based in Detroit, Michigan, I believe. And I was commuting home to Orlando and was talking with one of the pilots who I knew. And he had a business on the side, which was a mortgage business with another Delta Airlines pilot, an American Airlines pilot. And he started telling me how he got into that. And at the time, I wanted to, with airline flying, you have about a third of your time off. So pilots, there are some that kind of play, and then there are some that have other businesses, and I don't do well idle. So it was just interesting. We started chatting, and I said, wow, I have a friend of mine who was a mortgage broker. I used him for my own mortgage, and came home and made a call and started talking with Bill. One thing led to another. And then just kind of started going into his office and just observing and learning a little bit about the business. And then after September 11th, the airline obviously had a really reduced schedule. There were a lot of pilots on furlough. So to mitigate that expense, the furloughing expense, the airline would also offer, based on seniority, paid personal leave of absences. So I would bid to put in to get a personal leave of absence for the month. Based on my seniority, I was senior on, at the time was the Boeing 727. I was a senior pilot on that airplane. So whenever I bid to get that time off, I got the award. I got it awarded to me. So in that time frame, in that 4 to 5 months, basically getting paid not to go to work, I was very fortunate. That enabled me to kind of lean in on what being a mortgage broker is all about, what the industry is. That was what we call in the industry subprime days. So, you could state how much income you made, you could state how much assets that you had, you didn't have to verify it. So it was a little bit of a Wild West mentality or scene, if you will, in the mortgage world. So there's just a ton of information to learn. And basically just having that time off enabled me to do that. And when the music stopped on the, hey, you can get paid and not go to work, I had to make a decision. And I just made that decision that I really like this. I like the mortgage business, especially I love to fly. But I just didn't want to watch Emily and Ava, my two daughters, grow up part-time. So I left the airlines and now have been originating mortgages, helping families realize the dream of homeownership for almost 17 years.
Wow, that's awesome. So
Too much information?
No, definitely not at all. I think it's awesome information. Flying is so cool. I would love to fly one day. That sounds so cool.
It's fun.
Is there anything that you would have said to your 17-year-old self that, hey, you're going to go through some challenges. Here's one thing that you should learn now. It'll help you so much when you go through these things in life.
Absolutely. So what I think I don't know it applies as much to the flying as it does to what I do now. Flying is, I knew every 2 weeks from Northwest or now Delta how much my check was going to be, right? So it's not like in what I do now where it's much more entrepreneurial and, for lack of better terms, I eat what I kill, meaning I have to go out and originate mortgages so I can get paid. I really went 180 degrees. So not so much in the flying world. I certainly would have advice for, those young pilots out there or those people who are interested in flying. There's definitely plenty of advice there. But more what I do now, I think that my advice would be sure to surround yourselves, in essence, with the people that are in a position you would like to get to.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say that, because the whole time in originating mortgages, I worked for smaller companies, I was a broker. And while the other loan officers in the company that I work for did a decent amount of business, they weren't, everyone has a different goal in what they want to do, but they really weren't reaching the kind of goals and the amount of production that, I really wanted to. But the problem is that I didn't know that existed and I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
how to get there. So I come over to Waterstone, where I am now, and my office neighbor Mike Smalley and others are doing these like bonkers numbers, these bananas numbers. I didn't even know how to do that. So I would probably, have told my 17-year-old self is, hey, listen, whatever you ultimately want to do for a living, think
Mm-hmm.
of almost having a personal board of directors. Like
Mm-hmm.
surround yourself with people, befriend people, start, communicating, even if it's virtual, even if it's just reaching out. I tell my oldest daughter, Emily, who's a finance major, who's actually going to Seoul, South Korea next year to study international finance. Reach out to people at Goldman
Mm-hmm.
Sachs.
Yeah.
Make friends in that sector. You never know what's going to come of it. Plus, it will give
Mm-hmm.
you an insight of what the potential is for your career. So, I think the advice would be to set your sights high,
Mm-hmm.
befriend, in essence, create a board of directors of people
Mm-hmm.
who are in a position in the field that you're interested in that you would like to one day reach.
Yeah.
And I have found, just one last thing, I have found that really no one can get, barring hitting a lottery, it's very difficult to get to positions as an entrepreneur or a business
Mm-hmm.
owner without help, whether that
Mm-hmm.
be advice or that be coaching, whatever it may be. So I have found that people that I reached out to, like Mike in my office and others, they're very giving. They want to help. So
Mm-hmm.
don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask someone's opinion and how they got where they are. What do you think my next step should be? Or I'm interested in X, Y, and Z. What are some really great schools that I should set my sights on? That would be my advice for the my 17-year-old self.
Yeah, that's really important. Definitely to want to put yourself in environments that'll help you grow and help you, I would say, widen your horizons. Definitely, that's pretty important for young people or just anyone in general who's looking to climb the ladders a little bit more. I totally
Absolutely.
agree. Yeah. Is
Yep.
there anything that you would say maybe to a 17-year-old out there who's like, maybe the college is not what I want to do. I want to go something a little bit on my own. What is like one thing that you think they should learn, obviously, other than befriending, but something that they can learn that will help, even if it's just something small, like reading every day, or something small they can incorporate to learn now that'll build up in the future?
Yeah, I actually think you said it really well. I would do just that. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
at some point, I think Emily, my oldest daughter, was maybe a sophomore or a junior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in a magnet program. So the workload was pretty extensive and there were many frustrating nights for her. And, I told her, listen, college is not for everyone. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
can be very successful in a chosen profession and not necessarily have to obtain a 4-year degree,
Mm-hmm.
but the education is important.
Yeah.
So whether you sell real estate for a living or you sell life insurance or automobiles, still educate yourself. Maybe that's a
Mm-hmm.
2-year state college to get some basic fundamental courses on some things. Maybe it's specific courses that you take in the field that you're interested in. But I would say the 4-year university, higher education, masters, and others. And I have a 4-year degree. I did 1 year of law school. But I would say is always be looking to educate yourself, broaden your horizons, push yourself. If you find yourself very comfortable, then you're not
Mm-hmm.
growing.
Yeah.
So push yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Learn something about anything. Just
Mm-hmm.
continue to learn and grow. And obviously, those things that are specific to your field are incredibly important. And that was
Mm-hmm.
my advice to Emily as far as my oldest daughter about going over to Seoul. I said, listen, South Korea is doing incredible things, finance and tech. Go, go.
Mm-hmm.
And this summer, she's going to take a class in Korean. She's nervous about it, but she's broadening horizons. And when you do that, doors will open.
Yeah.
and you'll meet people. And she's 20 now, but she may meet someone on this semester in South Korea next year. She may know the rest of her life. It may open a door at an investment banking firm she had no idea. So always be learning, meet people, just be in that essence a little bit of an extrovert, if you will, in pushing yourself and learning more and meeting as many people as you can.
Definitely. I think that's really important. Is there any last thing that you'd like to say if someone like was watching this and you're like, okay, well, if there's anything that you had to take away from this, anything that you have to learn, it has to be this one thing from watching this entire thing?
Wow, that's a great question. No, I actually think that one thing would be the topic that we just discussed about always be pushing and growing, learning and reading. And like I said, and it can be in anything. I love to cook. So for me, I love Indian food. And like, I want to emulate, I want to, go to my favorite Indian restaurant here in Winter Park, and I want to make it like they make it. So, bought some books and watch YouTube videos. So it can be about that. It can be about airplanes. It can be about mortgage-backed securities. It doesn't matter. But I would say, like I just, prior is just push yourself, always be learning and growing. And again, lean on others, reach out to people regardless of where they are. Hey, listen, worst case scenario is someone can just blow you off or not respond to an email or a LinkedIn. So what, right?
Yeah.
You can't get a black eye or broken bone over the phone or on the internet or, on LinkedIn. And you never know by asking and reaching out what may happen.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thank you so much today for taking your time out and sharing some amazing information. I know I learned a lot. I'm sure other people will also learn a lot. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thanks for this opportunity. And I really enjoyed spending a few minutes with you.
Thank you. All right.
Take care.
Have a nice day. Bye.
You too. Bye now.